Morning, folks. Been a few days since I've been on here. We've been kind of busy, got busy all of a sudden. Been doing a whole lot of riding this colt right here. They call him baby horse. I call him Boudreaux. He's headed home today. And what I wanted to kind of do, I've had him for most of the summer, and I like to take it real slow with these horses, particularly 2-year-olds. I'm not in the business of training colts for a business. My buddy Mike had this horse, and we said, we'll help you out with him. We'll take him, we'll ride him, we'll get him to where you can take him and you can enjoy him. It was a pretty good summer of starting a colt, and I believe in taking starting colts slow, particularly these young horses. I'll ride them 3 or 4 days, give them a week off, go back, ride them again. I've worked with him pretty consistently, but as far as riding and putting heavy riding on him, I don't like to do that too many days in a row. I'm a big old boy. These 2-year-olds. He's a good sized colt, but he's gilded now. But he's come a long way. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take you back and show you kind of where he came from, and then today, before I take him home, I'm gonna work with him. I'll work with him over there at Mike's a little bit, and I'll kind of show you what my routine is with a horse that is green, and kind of give you the rundown on him. And when I say green, they're green for 2 or 3 years. Finished horses take a long time, in my opinion. So I'm gonna get his feet trimmed, giving him his last trim on his feet, and we'll work him a little bit. I don't know if y'all remember or not, but this little horse came from Allen on the farm on Route 66, and I went over and picked him up for my buddy Mike. We took him over to his place, and Mike, you know, he fed him, he petted him, he handled him some, but never was really broke the lead. I think this right here is the only time he had a halter on him. We got him back over to Mike's and got him settled. He kept him in a stall for a while, just get him quieted down and get him used to the place, because this horse did come off the reservation. And it wasn't until over a year later, just about, that I went over and got him in a round pen, and we got him caught for the first time, got a rope on him, and say he'd been running out for a little bit over a year, and he's a big old boy now. He didn't know how to lead, he didn't know how to give the pressure when we first started handling him, so things got a little bit western, but he came around pretty good. We got him leading. Anytime, you know, you start working with an unhandled horse or an almost unhandled horse, particularly that hadn't had any structured interaction, you know, a lot of people pet a horse, a lot of people be around a horse, and they think, well, this horse is pretty gentle, this horse is okay, but when you go to doing some structured things with them, then it tends to be a little bit more of a challenge. See here, he really don't know that much about pressure, and as I explained in the video where I was doing this, I like to use a hard hondo on my rope, and I like to use a big rope. That way it doesn't tighten up and choke a horse out. Equipment is everything. This is the first time I'm getting a halter on him, and like I say, this is the first time he'd had any
any handling in over a year, and he's just learning what it's all about. Didn't like being touched up by his face, behind his ears, just the typical things that, you know, a wild horse, a feral horse, however you want to call it, that hadn't been touched, you know, is going to do when you start touching them around their head and their ears and stuff like that. So he did pretty good, though. I think the whole thing might have been 45 minutes, an hour, or something like that, to get him haltered and get him loaded on a trailer. You can see here in this next little clip, he's learning to turn and face up and come to me, and he was always kind of slow about that, even in the process when we were training him at home. You know, he didn't like to come forward real good, and you know, the earlier you can get a hold of them, the earlier you can get them given the pressure, the better. That's the key to taking and training a horse. After I got him home, I worked real slow with him. I tried to get him as comfortable as possible with me moving around them and touching them on their feet. He didn't like his feet being touched. He was just real skittish about that sort of thing. So it took him a little while. I like to use a stick and string to really get a horse used to being touched on their feet, touched on their head, rub them between the ears, all the places they don't like to be touched. I'll use a stick and string. And it was a lot of work, and like I say, I don't go real fast with them. I go pretty slow with them, work with them a little bit every day. I did a lot of desensitizing with this horse, and he came around really good, got real quiet, really learned how to take and go forward. And here's still kind of early in his training. He's still pulling on me quite a bit, but he's learning. And like I say, if you keep doing the same thing the same way, eventually you'll get results. And he turned out to be a pretty nice little horse. As you can see here, we've progressed at this point to being able to pick up his feet, touch him all over, throw ropes all over him, and he's really got quiet about it, really got soft. I really like to use hitching rails or hitching posts now, particularly that I'm a little bit older. It's a little bit harder to hang on to these horses, and I think the hitching post really takes and keeps them quiet and keeps them from moving around too much. I like to give them a little bit of freedom, but not enough that they can just lose it and blow up. Here's his first ride, and basically all I do on my first ride is just get up on them, bend them, make sure they're soft, move them both directions, and that's pretty much what I do, you know, on a young horse for their first ride. Here he is. This is the day that I'm taking him home. I like to work a horse before I take him home. Before I load him up on the trailer, makes him a little bit quieter in the trailer when you load him up. And you know, if you can take and get a horse quiet before you get them on a trailer, then especially hauling them long distance, they tend to take and haul a little bit better. using the hitching rail, I think is just a really good way to take and teach a horse to stand still, to be saddled. And I saddle them, loose too. But to get them started saddling, I think tying them up and saddling them up and just letting them stand there saddled throughout the day is just a really good way to make a horse quiet and patient. You can see here, I'm riding him around. And at this point, right before I took him home, he hadn't been in a bit too long. I'd been riding him around in just a halter, and he was still kind of pushing on the bit, still didn't really understand, how to be soft to it. I'd driven him in the bit some, and he was still learning how to give his body. But like I say, he's just a started colt. He's not a finished horse by no means. And here we are at Mike's. We are just working him here in the round pen, showing Mike, what we do with him. I think it's real important, particularly with somebody who's not as educated and doesn't understand horses as well. It's a really good practice to just take them through the steps, show them what you do with them, show them what they can expect. And so I go through everything with them and show them how, we work the horse and the reasons why, not just what we're doing, but why we're doing it. So I give them a little bit of an education there about how I work the horse and how I train the horse. And just understanding the concepts of why we're doing what we're doing is really important. But once we took and worked with him a little while, and I kind of showed him, what I'm doing with the horse, all the things on the ground, then I'll get on the horse and ride him around a little bit. This horse turned out to be a real soft, real nice horse. Didn't really ever give me a whole lot of trouble. Driving, he was a little bit excitable. He'd want to take off, but other than that, he was just a really good horse. Here I am. They got a donkey. You guys have seen us. We've rescued this donkey one time. It was hung in a stall door. But I just get him out and ride him around. Just show him, that you can get him out and ride him around. I trail rode this horse a lot. Checked fences with him. I rode him. I'd saddle him up, in the morning and use him to run back and forth to the house. If I had to go grab something, if I had to, whatever I was doing that day, that I had him pretty much saddled up all day and would ride him periodically out through the days. Get out and move his donkey around, just show him. And then Mike here, he's getting on this horse for the first time, and I'm walking him through the steps. Probably the most dangerous place on any horse is getting on and getting off. People don't take enough time, particularly on a green horse. And I would consider this horse a greenbroke horse. I rode him a lot. I worked him a lot. But, a young horse that just hasn't had, hours and hours and hours of riding consistently for years, they're green. He's got a good start on him. He's definitely a good horse to go take and use, but he's young. So teaching somebody, particularly that, like I said, is uneducated about horses and doesn't understand the colt starting process and what it takes to get a horse to the point of being able to just ride them around. It's a really good idea to teach them, okay, this is how we get on this horse. We want him soft, we want him supple, we want to have, a level of control so that things don't get out of control. And I really stress that a lot when I'm, training a horse. Just because I can ride it doesn't mean everybody can. And I really think that teaching people that you're training, I think the more novice they are, the more lessons you are to take and give them. So this horse turned out really good. We kept him pretty much all summer. We got him, I think it was in early March. Kept him all summer. Took him back over there, and he did really good. Really turned out really well. And you know, the slower you go with them, the better the horse is going to be. And just be consistent. Do the same things the same way, and that's the recipe for success right there for sure. So I thank y'all for stopping by. You know, remember to like, share, and subscribe. Hadn't been on here in a while. Just been busy with life, but hopefully I can turn out a few more videos. I want to thank you, all the subscribers, all the people that's been with us for a long time. Really appreciate y'all. Y'all's continued support for this channel has really been encouraging. We appreciate y'all. So remember, if you don't know which way to go in this old world, commit your ways unto the Lord. Trust also in Him, and He'll bring it to pass. We'll see you later.